Let us offer our consecration to the Lord. Lord, we offer up to you this day on this 30th week, 30th Thursday of the ordinary time, and we offer this up to you that we may glorify your name. We may be focused on the thankfulness that you call us to do in 1 month from today, and we ask that we may be ready to recognize the final month of the year next week, that we may be prepared for the messages of the church at that time, which call us to remember our end times as we prepare for the coming of the Lord, which is the following month in Advent. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Well, before I continue, I'd like to thank Austin from Arlington from calling, and we discussed a couple things regarding Vatican II and also issues with the end times because he had some questions. And it's one of the things that I guess I haven't mentioned. If you call our phone number, which you'll hear in a few minutes, if you call our phone number, I am known for calling you back, not a secretary, not someone who is a producer or anything else, me. So if you want to call and talk to me, use that number, and I'll leave a message, and I will call you back from that same number, by the way. Well, today is in our first reading, we're seeing this powerful message. This is a very well-known reading. We've been continuing in Ephesians, and we're towards the end of it. And this is the famous reading from Ephesians 6:10, and actually it's 6:10 through 20. And if you're reading in your favorite daily missal, whether it's The Word Among Us, Magnificat, Bible.usccb.org, or your book of daily missals, whatever the case may be, check that out. And you'll see the reading for today. And it has an interesting thing that we need to focus on. And it's simply this. He says that we're not fighting human forces. And keep that in mind. We are literally fighting principalities and powers. See, as Catholics and other Christians, we believe not only in the material world, but we believe in the spiritual world as well. And this is something scientists don't get because they don't believe in the spiritual world. And that actually creates a danger for them. Why? Because, it's kind of like if you don't understand danger, then you're not going to avoid it. And of course, one of the things that is at the bottom of many of the movements that we have in our country, especially from the more liberal side, is the book Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, which begins with a praise for Lucifer. Well, when you look at that, and you got to realize Saul Alinsky didn't believe he was an atheist, so he didn't believe in the spiritual world. When you look at that, anyone who works in the spiritual world, which we all do, that's why we're listening to this program, it doesn't mean you have to be an exorcist, will know that you avoid anything like that. So we understand that Paul is saying that there are these spiritual forces out there, and that is where our battle is. That means you don't fight the person, you fight the spirituality. This is something that Walter Wink teaches. And this is something I've been teaching all along. You don't fight the person, you fight the spirituality. An interesting concept that I've seen in several places, and it's something to keep in mind, and that is, and this is true, a great tactic that people use to attack to control people is to make sure that they are busy attacking other people. So, for example, if there were three groups of people, Group A, Group B, and Group C. This way, putting it this way, I'm not really focused on any particular person, but so the three groups of persons, A, B, and C, and Group A is there on the side and is always working to get groups B and C fighting. A is in control. So keep that in mind. It's one thing to keep in mind. So as long as we are fighting them or they are fighting us, there's a third group that is in total control. And we've been talking about this in our politics. Because remember, if you're busy fighting, we'll just call it this way. If the Republicans are busy fighting the Democrats and the Democrats are busy fighting the Republicans, the people who are off the line, who are out of those two groups, are able to control both groups. And that's a pretty powerful thing that is real, and it happens. It's absolutely true. It's a dynamic that plays itself out. There was the story right after in 2016, right after the election, when Trump was in charge. There were these two groups of people. One wanted to start the resistance, and there was a famous movie director who was part of the anti-Trump crowd, and they wanted to start the resistance. And there was another group that wanted to start the support of Trump, and they both fought back and forth, and come to find out the Russians were funding both of them. Now, before you focus on the Russians, the United States has been known to do that too. We were on both sides. Sometimes on both sides in different battles. We're funding both sides. So, and all countries do that. It's an interesting story that if you don't understand that, then you will get part of the battle. All countries do that. So it's that whole thing. When you can get two groups fighting each other, then you're in control. And Paul is actually saying this in a way to be careful. Don't be fighting the people. Don't be fighting the groups. Fight the spiritualities. Now you're not fighting the people. You're fighting the spiritualities behind that and behind us to work in that level. We're going to talk more on the other side of the break. You're listening to St. Anthony Overnight from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, right here on WEZE 590 AM. And you can also hear us at CatholicAudioMedia.com. We'll be right back right after this. You can now leave a message for us, which we can air and discuss on this program. Just call 617-297-7452. That's 617-297-7452. 617-297-7452. Feel free to call, leave a comment, a question, or even feedback, and we may play it on the air. I can discuss your comment or question as well, so give that a try. 617-297-7452, 617-297-7452. I want to call your attention to Catholic TV, which offers great faith-filled, family-friendly programming 24 hours a day. You can find your cable channel at www.getcatholictv.com, and you can watch online on the free apps or check out the YouTube channel. Daily Mass, Rosaries, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Novena are all available online and on demand. Check out CatholicTV.com. And don't forget our own website, CatholicAudioMedia.com. That's CatholicAudioMedia.com. Check that out. You can connect to the parish that way. You can send us feedback. You can, as you heard, call us, and you can do all kinds of things over there. And we're also on Reddit. You can connect through Reddit there. There is now a Catholic Audio Media subreddit on Reddit, so you can check that out. So you can find us on Facebook. You can find us, which you'll see through the website. You can find us on Twitter, which you'll see through the website. You can find us on Reddit and other places. I actually like Reddit. It's kind of an interesting forum, and I started using that. There's a Catholicism forum over there, which I've used before, but they have these extremely strict rules. And since I set up the Catholic Audio Media Forum, I took those strict rules and made them a lot easier. So I actually didn't take their strict rules, but I made it a lot easier. But they had all these, you can only publish certain things on certain days, and you can't do certain things at certain times, and and I just and a few times I'd get my post removed, and because there was some stupid rule I didn't match. I'm like, I don't need this. So I started my own forum for anyone who is connected to this radio and other podcast and radio programs as well. And so I started my own, and you can find that on Reddit. Catholic Audio Media, all one word, on Reddit. And don't forget, you can hear us on various podcast platforms. So anyway, we're back to this talk, and it's important for us to understand what Paul is saying. So be focused on the spirituality, not the person. That's so important, because when you do get caught up into this fighting them, whoever they may be, then you are in a battle that the third party can control. And I've taught that to gangs. There's gangs, we're going to fight them. We're going to fight, the Sharks and the Jets type thing, which, granted, without the dancing, is real. And you have these gangs fighting. You have maybe, for example, two groups of gangs that will fight are Puerto Rican gangs and Central American gangs. And they'll fight against each other. And I explained to them, I said, you know who's going to win? I said, all your future employers. Because as long as you're fighting and you're getting in trouble and all this mess, when your future employers come, they're going to be able to hire you for minimum wage and make tons of money. Because they can charge all kinds of things and their labor costs are short because you got involved in this stuff. That is so true. And I said, so they're in control. And I don't know if they listen, but that's where it all starts. So keep that in mind. And that whole thing. So what Paul is saying is fight the spirituality. And that's especially among us Christians. Someone would show me something on Twitter where this guy was attacking the Pope. A Christian preacher was attacking the Pope. And they were all, and of course the Catholics felt very hurt by that. But of course, there were enough Catholics that attacked the Pope that we don't need someone else to do it. But it reminded me of a time where they found that there were certain groups that were attacking Catholics that were funded by certain American groups because they didn't like the Catholics. And they didn't realize that. The groups attacking Catholics. And it'll work in reverse, too. Don't think there aren't groups working in reverse, the same situation, Catholics against other Christians. And who's in control? The people who are doing the funding. So always keep that in mind. Always be aware of that. Focus on the spirituality. Do not focus on the person. That's what Paul is saying. Love the person. Disagree with the spirituality. Love the communist. Disagree with communism. We'll talk more tomorrow. Have yourself a blessed day, and we'll see you at midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning here tomorrow on WEZE. If you would like to support our program, please consider a donation to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. There are several ways to consider this. One is to purchase any of our merchandise, which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. That's CatholicAudiomedia.com. There are coffee mugs there. There's also my latest book, Encounter Christ in Your Humanity, all of which you can find at the shopping tab at CatholicAudiomedia.com. You can also donate to the show directly through either the Donate tab, also at CatholicAudiomedia.com, or by sending a donation through the U.S. Postal Service with your questions and comments at 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. That's St. Anthony Parish, 43 Holton Street, Allston, Massachusetts, 02134. Finally, the best way you can support our parish is to attend Mass on Sundays at 10 o'clock and be a part of our parish. We thank you for any support you would like to give to St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts, the sponsoring parish for this media outreach to Catholics and other Christians in the WROL, WEZE, and podcast listening audience. In Cristo vivimos.